Sup, my name is Jonas, and this is another voiceover. What am I voiceovering over exactly? The massive music sale at the Lawrence Public Library, of course. Apparently this event is a big deal, multi-day thing, so I know I gotta get my grubby little hands on some silly CDs. Maybe even some rare ones, I don't quite know. So let's just get into the madness.
This album was definitely one of the more unexpected ones on the little list I got going on. I didn't quite know what it was when I found it, and I couldn't seem to figure out the album name or the musicians on it. It was just a bunch of cute animals, which was nice to look at, but it didn't really give me a lot to work with. Well, turns out I'm dumb because I didn't see the liner notes, and the album does have a name, and that name is The Dreamers. And apparently everything is kind of pinned by this crazy guy named John Zorn, who has a really cool last name. And he's appeared on over 400 musical recordings in the past 40 or so years. Definitely not what I was expecting. I was expecting something a tad more orchestral and indie, maybe more of a Tumblr aesthetic, I don't know. But what do I actually think about the album though? I think that is very interesting. The production value is incredibly high, and there's a lot of inspiration taken from surf and exotica, so that's pretty cool. It's a very experimental album with a lot of weird song names, but it manages to sort of stay in familiar musical territory. My personal favorite tracks were Mau Mau, Mulwadi, The Ride on Cotton Fair, and Of Wonder and Certainty, which is a nice Lou Reed tribute. Overall, I'd say that it would make for some darn good background passive listening, even when it's at its strangest, and for that reason, I'll give it a solid 7.5 out of 10 rating. The first impression I got when I was listening to this album is that it was very interesting as well. It was very experimental and jazzy, but also kind of grounded in punk madness, all while having a maximalist veneer. In many ways, it was similar to the Dreamers album I mentioned earlier, but it's different in a few ways just in terms of musicality. For one thing, its punk influences are more obvious and everything is more unpredictable. There are perfectly average, albeit a tad wobbly jazz songs, just in terms of music theory, and then there are moments that are just straight up indescribable. I'm personally more drawn to the former, with some of my favorite tracks being Tarantella, The Hanging, Uncle Jerry, and A Paper Bag, and The Sun. It's very random XD. I like all the randomness, so I'm gonna give it all an 8 out of 10. Yeah. This album is mad fire, not gonna lie, just in terms of sound effect variety. I enjoyed all the farts. There were so many farts. There were wet farts, there were long farts, there were short farts, there were dry farts, there were farts, and there were farts. One thing was certain, every time I heard a fart, I just straight up my pants. I also enjoyed all the ASMR squelching noises. In fact, I enjoyed them so much that I skipped through all of them because they were just too good sounding for my ears to handle. Of course, I can't forget about the animal noises either. It really made me feel like I had a skeleton in my closet. Overall, I'd say these cool sound effects, combined with the cool intro by my boy Sam FX and all of the Brian Eno-esque instrumentals, they're well worth the $5 I paid for them. In all seriousness though, the effects were well recorded at least, and whoever recorded them seemed to fulfill the thing that they set out to do, so that's pretty cool. An album like this, it isn't in the casual listener's vicinity, but I have to give credit where credit is due. I need to be fair in my reviews, so I'm gonna give totally gross sound effects 6 out of 10. And you know, on the topic of recapping and kind of reviewing, let's do a recap, you know? Let's do the Dreamers album was a 7.5 out of 10. Solid listening, but a little bit strange. Voice of Chunk was an 8 out of 10. Pretty freaky listening experience overall. And that sound effects album, that was a solid 6 out of 10. Anyways, I gotta go back to my grotto to cry. See you all later. Bye-bye.